I'd like to take us mentally over to a posh district in London, Chelsea. Many of us have heard about it. Many of us have seen movies and TV shows taking place there, and an extremely tasty restaurant there I just had the luxury of eating this weekend. It's an Italian restaurant, a Tuscan Italian restaurant, and they make a wicked espresso martini, and it's run with Scrum. May I introduce the owner of Riccardo's London restaurant? Please welcome Riccardo Mariti.
Good afternoon. When I was starting with Scrum, I read books and I listened to lots of webinars. And I had real problems sort of finding real-world examples of how people were using Scrum. And so I hope I'll be able to give you a few sort of alternative uses that might sort of spark your imagination, maybe come up with some new ideas on how you might use it. So what happened was, at the very beginning, I had a recruitment problem. Sorry, by the way, that's my restaurant. I had a recruitment problem. I had 4 people leave the restaurant very quickly just before the summer. And we had 2 students who had finished their studies. They were meant to be staying through the whole summer. One of them got invited actually to Berlin, and the other one was invited to Barcelona, and they were just gone within a week. One person whose parent had died, and she left within a day, and then somebody else left just. And my team, front of house team, was only 8 people, and so half of them gone. And so I immediately, my strategy for that was always to go and lock myself in my office at home and try to get some new team members. And what happened was that the people back at the restaurant didn't think anything was being done. I was working every day, all hours of the day, interviewing people. There weren't that many people coming to London at the time because it was the beginning of the summer. And, you know, they go off on holiday. They're not looking for new jobs. And so I remember Jeff Sutherland saying that making things visible was probably the most important thing you could do in Scrum. You know, as far as sort of just getting things out there that everybody could see. And I also remember one of my first teachers when I did my Scrum Master course was Henrik Nyberg, and he had a great slide about a recruitment company. And it kind of sparked me to come up with this slide here. So I put this board up in the restaurant one day, and I just started populating it with all the different applicants. And so you see to phone, coming for interview, coming for trial, shift, and new starters. And when people were coming through, I'd start putting their details up on the board. Now, of course, because you only have a certain amount of hours in every day, and so I had a situation where I'd often be in interviews, or I'd be in another business meeting, but people would be coming in, they'd be phoning, they'd be answering our adverts. We were doing quite a lot of advertising on Google. And so my secretary or myself would come in and actually just put the details of the people here. And what I noticed, the team started saying, hold on a second, you've got this big sort of bottleneck of people coming in, but they're not being seen. I said, well, I just haven't got enough time to phone these people. And so they started saying, can we phone them for you? Can we get involved in the recruitment process? And from where I'd come through, that had never happened before. You know, it was just kind of me. I'd put somebody, say, I think you'll get on with these people. And I'd always try and get someone I thought would be a sort of natural fit with the team. But now you had the team sort of putting their hands up and really helping out. And so we just kind of visited this board every single day for several weeks. And we came up with a lot of good ideas as well on how to recruit new team members and where to get them from, and different alternatives that the team had. And within a very short period of time, we had all 4 people re-recruited. In fact, we had 6 new applicants. We started 5 of them, and I only picked 1 of them. So the others were all picked by the team. And actually, that was much better because I think they picked people who were a natural fit already. So that was really eye-opening for me. It's just a simple thing, just getting something up there that people can see. And the morale really came up, and we sort of started gelling much more as a team. I was talking to Jeff Sutherland about frameworks, and I was saying, you know, I got a real thing. I know Scrum's a framework, and I kind of understand how it fits around software, but I've never worked in the software business. But how can I create a framework for the restaurant? And he just turned around and said, what you need is a really simple set of rules. In fact, I've written exactly what he wrote. Simple set of rules that can generate a customer experience that blows them away, but with half the people on your team. And you want to be increasing the quality and the speed, quality of food and service, and the speed that everyone gets done. He said, you really can get twice the work in half the time. I've seen it in other arenas, and I believe you can do it in a restaurant. So, very inspired by that, he kept talking about this sort of swarming idea, about sort of getting people swarming. And so I remember when Jeff does his training, he had this All Blacks haka he used to play to this. It's that sort of war dance they do before the All Blacks matches. And he used to play that to his first Scrum team ever, I think it was, every single day. And he'd say, how can we become more like this? You know, how can we become more focused? How can we become more aggressive at getting that ball across the line? You know, more as a team rather than this whole individual effort. But, you know, my team members came up with this, which I thought was fun. And so I play this every day, and we still play it at every daily stand-up. And I'm asking the guys, how do we become more like this? I'm also asking them, where does the manager here telling you what to do? You know, that was under 2 seconds, you know, and we have some amazing conversations at the end of this. And there's a particularly good part at the end of this here where it kind of captures the essence of what we're always trying to get in the restaurant, which is right here. These guys, it's just, yeah, you know, we did it, we got it right, you know. And that really is sometimes, you know, even just a simplest thing, you know, when we have a big party, 20 people, and you need to clear a table, and everybody swarms around like that. They just drop what they're doing, say, excuse me, madam. They go straight over to the table, and they all help out. They kind of get that feeling, and you kind of really get that feeling of this kind of coming togetherness. Yeah, and we do all our daily meetings, by the way. We use Zoom conference calls. Anyone can dial in and see what's going on. So, and that's really helped, actually. They kind of got it, and we have a group WhatsApp, and everybody gets told when the Zoom meeting's on, and they just come in. So Scrum talks about self-organizing teams, and I know Joe was really keen for me to come up with this. So I was lucky that my manager left about 2 weeks before I implemented Scrum. And she said, I want to go and work in a real hierarchical company. I'm a manager now, but I don't even know how well I'm doing, apart from you're the only person who tells me I'm doing a great job, but I don't know. I want to go and work with a general manager above me in a place with multiple units and so on. And she kind of like, she'd had the Scrum book, and I think she knew what was coming, so she left. And so I said to the team, I said, guys, you know, you've got a great opportunity now. Do you want another manager? Because Jeff Sutherland told me that when you go to work with Scrum Inc., nobody ever tells you what to do, and I think that's a great idea for us. We could tell you what needs to be done, but we're nobody ever going to tell you what to do. Do you want to be like that? And they were like, yeah. And I said, well, okay, well, one of the biggest problems and areas that managers always dealt with is the daily rotoring, you know, the scheduling of the team for the whole week. And so I said to the guys, you know, would you like to do that? So they said, sure. So we got a board together. So we put all of the job functions down here. So it says, you know, doing the bar, doing the door, home delivery, doing a runner. And then these are the days, lunch, dinner, right the way through the week. And then we just put a tick next to each place where we had a requirement that needed to be covered. And then the team members just, if like this young lady there, she works 6 or 7 shifts a week. So she had 6 or 7 Post-its. And then they would just line up, and one of them would take the first thing, and they'd take the first shift of their choice. And they would just rotate round until the thing was full. And traditionally, this used to take about 6 to 8 hours for a manager to do for 1 week's worth of rota. And they were always trying to speak to everybody and who can do what, and this person's got to go to the dentist and so on and so forth. We did 4 weeks in 1 hour. And that was a really very really exciting, you know, for the team and for them to see that as well. So the next thing, which was really good fun, was then I said to the guys, you can have any days off you want. You can have as much holiday as you want. The only thing is you've got to make sure that whoever you've got to organize the person to change with you. So if once we've done the 4 weeks ahead, you've got to find somebody from the team that can cover you. And they've got to have the same job. They've got to be able to do the job. So if you're a barman, they've got to be able to do the bar. If you're on home delivery, they've got to be able to do the home delivery. So suddenly, whereas before we had everyone really protective over their jobs, now they wanted to train everybody in their position. And it was like magic, you know. And it was like, that had been sort of 2 or 3 items down on my backlog, you know. And I was thinking, yeah, how am I going to do that? I'm going to get everyone trained. But they started kind of saying, oh yeah, I got to. So I had everybody coming to me and saying, could you put that person on for an extra shift next week? I know, but I'm going on holiday and I want to make sure everybody on the team knows how to do this. So if anybody's off, then and what then happened was, a couple of times, if we were either short or we decided to be short, you might have a barman now running out to take an order on the table, and then somebody needs a drink, so that waiter will just run back behind the bar and help themselves to the drink and then take it out and serve it. So you kind of really got this amazing flow going around. There's not just one person sitting there polishing glasses while everybody else is working, which you get a lot there. And I think they're much happier, these guys. You know, the team were really, really happy at the end of that. So I had told the team, look, all the hierarchy's gone here. I might be the owner, but I'm team member, exactly the same as you. I know there are 3 roles in Scrum, but we only had 1 role at the time, and it was just team member. You know, that's it. And now we're implementing the things in a slightly more structured way. But if they had a problem with a team member, they had to go in and they had to retrain that team member. They were in charge of who was going to stay and who was not going to stay. They couldn't come to me and say, I've got a problem with this person. You know, so they had to start training each other up. Anyway, we're doing really well. I have a chat with Henrik Nyberg, and he says, look, after the euphoria of Scrum wears off, you're going to come up with some really deep issues. And when the manager's not there anymore, people are not scared to speak up. So we really encourage them to do that. And so I'm telling everybody, it's got to be a fair system for all, a fair system for all, a fair system for all. And Lucy, who's from Denmark, and she put her hand up one day and said, sorry, but it's not a fair system here. I said, why? And she said, because every time we're doing a rota, you all defer to this other girl who was a sort of assistant manager, stroke manager before, and she's got a child, and you let her come in late and leave early. I have to come in early and leave late. Every day that I'm working, I'm closing 4 times a week, and she never closes. And this whole thing erupted, and everybody just went mad, and they were trying to kill each other. So we kind of went from this really sort of superficial happiness to the issues coming up. And then, you know, Henrik had said, you just need to be a really good Scrum Master at that time. You just need to just facilitate everything and keep everything together, but let the team sort it out. So we had a lot of tears and a lot of sort of threats to shut the restaurant down and restaff if necessary, but you guys got to sort this out. And 2 weeks later they did. And I really, I mean, they did. These are the 2 people here who had been killing each other. And this was taken about 10 days, 2 weeks after that. So, you know, they did very well. In a restaurant business, there's a lot of backstabbing. People talk about each other. I've introduced a general amnesty, so at the end of every week, you have until Sunday night to talk up. And if you don't, you can no longer discuss anything that happened before that. And we don't know, it's still early days, so I'll let you know. So if anybody wants to come to the restaurant, you come and eat with me as my guest. I'd love you to see the teams and come round and come to any of our daily stand-ups and so on. It would be a real pleasure to have you there and sort of show you how we do it. Thank you.
Interesting to see it used outside software. I kind of love it. The idea of teams is if you give everyone all the information and then give them independent authority to make their own decisions so they don't have to wait on central decision-making authority, we get to have access to small windows of opportunity.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Riccardo. I have 2 questions. Maybe we have 2 minutes for 2 questions. One for Riccardo. Did your restaurant have a product owner, and what was their
That's a very
tasks?
interesting question. Yes, I was the product owner to start with, but now, and we just spent 3 days at Bosch, and we just kind of brainstorming the whole idea, because, I didn't say to you, the kitchen have actually asked now, because they only did that front of house, the kitchen have asked, could they become a Scrum team? So we're going to start that as soon as I get back. And the chef will be a product owner. So, he'll be the one for his area, and each team will have their own product owner. So,
Taking it one step further.
yeah.
Yeah, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.